So along with the head coach here, Tad Boyle, our player guest is going to be Cody Williams tonight. He'll be joining us. And my goodness, are you in for a treat? The censors and the network are very nervous, but Steve Englehart, our strength and conditioning coach, is going to be here. And when Steve shows up, you never know what's coming out of his mouth.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly. But you know it's going to be energetic and straightforward.
Yes.
He pulls no punches.
No. What does Gary always says about our silent reporter, Andy Lindahl? He always says, always, oh, goodness, I'm going to get the quote wrong now. Frequently wrong, but always certain, I think is what Gary always says. That kind of applies to Steve, too, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. I never tell him he's wrong. I'll tell you that. I just say, hey, man, just do your thing.
Hey, between Raleigh and Bill and I, we all tell him he's wrong all the time.
That's okay.
That's
right. You guys can do it. I support him 100%.
You know, the thing about it, and I want to get in your game here in just a moment, but that position for you coaches is extremely important.
Oh, it's critically important.
Yeah.
I mean, without a doubt. And he's the guy that has a relationship with the players that's a little bit different than the coach-player relationship. And he's also, with the players in the off season a lot. And he has to gain their trust, which Steve does a great job of because he's very knowledgeable in what he does. He's very energetic in what he does. And the thing I've always appreciated about him is he makes guys enjoy being in the weight room, which is a hell of a challenge. Because I remember when I was a player, sometimes you're looking for reasons not to go in there, but he does a great job of educating the guys and letting them know, how this is going to benefit them. And I think that's the one thing about coaching today, Mark, and I think and Steve can probably talk to this, but I think with players today, when I played for coaches, it was like, Coach, why do we do this? And the answer was because I said so. Kind of like, my parents.
There you go. Yeah.
Why do I have to take the trash out? Because I said so. It's your job. Yeah. Like, you do your job. Do your chores. My mom's here tonight, right? She's shaking her head.
Yep.
So I didn't always do that. I don't always like to do that, but that was my job. And so, but today's student athlete, I think if they understand the why, why am I doing this lift? Why do you have me doing this exercise? Steve's really good at explaining why. And I think we have to do that on the basketball floor. He has to do it in the weight room. And then he's got to push those guys, and he does a great job of that. And so, it's funny about, how he came to be our strength coach. He taught me a great lesson in that sometimes your best opportunities to hire people are from within. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know Steve before we hired him. He could probably tell you the stories with football
side,
and he was in Olympic sports. And, James Hardy left to go to the Patriots, and it's like, I need a weight coach. And, okay, let me put that on hold. We got spring recruiting, and, I'll deal with that when I have to. And so, I told our athletic director at the time, I think it was Rick George. Yeah, I said, Rick, we need somebody to cover our team for this spring. And so he said, I got the guy. You'll love him. And Steve came in, and, he told me, he says, Coach, I'd like this job permanently. And I said, I understand that.
Yeah.
But let's just get through this spring, know. And in my mind, I didn't know Steve, so I was like, let me see what's going on. And by the end of the spring, it became really apparent he was the guy for the job. And it was the best decision I've ever made. I could argue he's probably the best hire I've made since I've been here. Made some good ones. There's no doubt about that. Some really good assistant coaches. But what he's done for our program on and off the court, you can't put into words, and it's really hard to describe unless you're in the program. And you ask Cody about him. I think you'll hear some pretty positive things as well. Every one of our players, they love Steve, and that's and they don't love him because he's easy on them.
No.
I always say this to people: who's the best teacher you ever had? Who's your best instructor, whether it's in college, high school,
who were tough on you.
Third grade? Yeah. People that were tough on you, people that pushed you, people that challenged you, but also people that cared about you and did that too. So he's the real deal.
Well, most of the time, most of the players that come through here, they'll tell you, and I talked to all of them. Somewhere between their freshman and sophomore years, they want to fight Steve. I mean, that's,
absolutely. And he'll oblige.
yes, he probably will. Here's the thing,
and they will win. No,
no, they won't.
No,
I consider Steve a good friend. I consider James Hardy a good friend. And
absolutely.
And virtually every game, I hear from James at one point because he says to trash talk me during the broadcast. But here's the thing: those strength coaches, they kind of march to the beat of a different drummer, don't they?
Yeah, which is okay. I think that's you don't want people that think like you, and like I would not be a good strength coach.
Right.
I mean, I know that, and I admit that, and that's why you got to hire people that are. And he's You got to hire people that are good at what they do, love what they do, and that's the thing about Steve as well, is he loves what he does. He loves, working with student athletes. He loves coming in the gym. He's I can't say enough good things about him.
I knew Steve would get my body right for the games. That was a huge thing for me, just obviously because I need to put on weight and get stronger. So the strength and conditioning program was top of my list.
We've got Steve Englehart, the strength and conditioning coach. We love to give Steve a hard time because we love him. He's such a great guy, and so hope you weren't offended tonight.
No, man, I love y'all, man.
Steve's never been offended.
We're such a big family here at Colorado basketball. I mean, we mess with each other a lot. So
your role is unique with this team. I mean, your role. They bring in the guys and the athletes and Jay, they bring them all into you guys in that weight room, and it's here's the raw material, make something out of it, isn't it?
yeah, and I think it all starts with, you got some guys that are transferring in, you got some guys that are coming in here as a freshman, and when they come in here as a freshman, you like the first month, 2 months, we need to teach them discipline and habits.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing that these young men need is discipline and habits. And then once you take care of that, it becomes a culture. And I think that's where, from when Coach Boyle hired me, and I know his mindset. I know he's it's a blue-collar, hard-working team, and that's how I am. And it's like, hey, we got to teach discipline. We're going to teach habits. We're going to teach how to take care of your body because everybody's so different. You got a guy like Cody, 6'8", with a 7'2" wingspan. You got KJ, 6'2", and with some shoulder problems right now. So you're like, what do we have to do to keep them on the hardwood?
Sure, yeah. You've had guys come through. McKinley comes to mind, who was just a son of a gun in the weight room, right? I mean, he just busted his tail all the time. And you get guys on the other end of the spectrum that you got to kind of motivate at times, don't you?
Yeah. You got some guys that love it, and you got some guys that you have to go down and grab them.
Yeah.
Love Jabari Walker, and
Yeah.
I had to go grab him a couple of times from
Sure.
the locker room.
Right.
And, his dad thanked me for that, but it was not always easy. It's not always easy I think Coach said that in the beginning of the show. It's not always easy to finish practice and have to go hit the weights. And, I do try and make it competitive and fun. And, sometimes they don't like me, but they love me at the end of their career because they realize what they need for their body.
By the way, some of those NBA guys come back and work with Steve during the offseason. That's how much they loved what he did with them. Well, what's the difference between when you were working with the football guys and the basketball guys? What's the difference there?
I don't think there's really – as long as lifting, there's that big of a difference. I mean, a human body's a human body. You got some receivers with long arms, long legs, very fast. You got, basketball. Obviously, you have 7 guys, 5 guys that are, unique, and they're tall. They're all long, so they're all to me like receivers and DBs. But if you know the human body, it's the same in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, O-line, D-line. No, that's not a shot.
Totally different deal.
Totally different deal.
There was a time in prehistoric times where basketball players didn't lift weights because they said it's going to affect your shot. None of that is true. You can't play this game anymore without being in the weight room, can you?
Now, you got to be physical now. And that shows in the NBA. That shows in college now. I mean, you have to be physical. That's because the guys that hit the weights in the offseason probably didn't work on their shot, and that's why their shot got messed up. So,
Right.
I hope if you lift, you have to shoot. You
Yeah.
know, you got to keep your rhythm up. You got to keep your shooting game up.
You've probably heard me say this in a broadcast. When somebody goes through contact, scores a bucket, I always say on the air, that's a Steve Englehart play. Nobody is jumping higher on the sidelines when somebody gets a real physical rebound and goes on up than this guy right here. That makes your night, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
I count the and-ones, especially. Well, they got to make it. When they get the and-ones, now when they miss it, and it's like I get pretty frustrated with it. But I get hey, you need to come hit the weight room.
Yeah.
You would have made it if you would have hit the weight room this week. You
without
would have hit it harder. You would have had it.
When a season's over, how quickly do you get your hands on the guys, getting them ready for the next season?
We usually give them about a week or 2 off. But to be honest, a lot of them come in and start doing their mobility, their movement patterns to get back on track on how, lifting like we do in the off season.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, off season lifting and in season lifting is 2 totally different. You're playing we got some guys playing 38 minutes, and those guys are coming in 2 times a week, and they're either we did some legs, we're doing some mobility, we're doing some stability for them depending on what they need, and we're just trying to maintain what we did in the off season.
Yeah. How much has this business changed in terms of the technology and the way you approach things from, let's say, 20 years ago when you first got into it? Night and day?
Night and day.
Yeah.
It's not even the same. I mean, we had no technology in 2005 when I was at University of Hawaii. We were doing, training the men's basketball team, and I still like, whoa, It's incredible where technology has brought us, and it's just how to use the technology, obviously. But it's still, I always go back to my what I truly believe in, and it's discipline and habits. Because you can have all that technology and you don't have no discipline and habits,
Sure.
and you're not going to learn how to take care of your body, or you're not going to learn how to work. You need to learn how to work.
Can you teach somebody how to be tough?
It's going to take some time.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen overnight. But
Yeah.
yes, you can teach some guys how to become tougher, how to handle different injuries, how to handle adversity, and handle what's going on in their life as well as on the court. Yes, they can become tougher.
By the way, if you're ever watching an NFL game, your brother's still with Washington, right?
He is.
If you ever watch the Washington Commanders in the NFL, his twin brother, who is identical, I mean, it is scary how much they look alike, is the strength coach for the Commanders.
He is, and I'm probably going to get a whole bunch of calls again this year when he's doing the NBA Combine 225 test
Yeah,
and saying,
yeah.
Steve, how do you go from the basketball game to the Indy? And I'm like, I can't even explain it no more.
It's the darndest thing. When his brother's around, I mean, it's freaky how much they look alike, exactly the same and doing the same thing. Keep up the good work, will you?
Thank you so much.
All right. Love this guy. Steve Englehart, strength coach for the Buffaloes.